here? Who is Rasul in here? What is taking handful? He took handful of what? It seems they are unknown. This expression of Quran is intentional. We are going to explain about it. فَنَبَذْتُهَا, I threw it. I threw it away. وَكَذَلِكَ سَوَّلَتْ لِي نَفْسِي, and this is how my carnal desire, my commanding soul to evil, decorated the whole affair for me. That's why I became deceived and I deceived others. Here, brothers and sisters, you have been patient. Please bear with me because there are lots of good points in here. Number one, he says, I saw something that the rest didn't see. And then I took a handful of the place of the leftover of the messenger. And then I threw it. Some of the commentators of Quran have said this statement of Samiri reflected in verse 96 of chapter 20. Alhamdulillah, Brother Tawakkuli is writing it over there very good. They say when Israelites were coming out of Egypt and Pharaoh and his army was following Israelites, Allah of course commanded Prophet Moses to strike his chain to the sea, whatever it was a river of Nile or whatever it was. There was a water passage ahead of them. Allah commanded Prophet Moses to strike his cane on that water, and the water parted into two, and then dry land was created in front of the path of Israelites. Israelites passed over it, and then Pharaoh also thought that the water is going to be, remained parted. He came to the midst of the dry land, and then the whole water was dumped on his head, and they were drowned. Samiri, and remember, Samiri is not an Egyptian. Samiri is one of the Israelites. Samiri says, when this incident happened, I saw angel Gabriel appearing in the form of a man, sitting on a horse, coming in front of the army of Pharaoh, moving ahead, so that Pharaoh and his folk, seeing him, they would follow him too, and they would come to the midst of the dry land, and the water would be dumped in their head. And I saw angel Gabriel riding a vehicle. I don't want to say horse or camel or whatever, a vehicle. And then his vehicle, the places of his feet would leave a trace, and it would generate certain things that through that generation of those mysterious things, I realized that that's angel Gabriel, that's not a man, even though it was appearing in the form of a man. So I went over there, from the places of the feet of his vehicle, I picked up some handful of dust, and I carried it with me. And then when I instigated to build the calf, after we constructed it physically, I threw some of this dust inside of the cavity through the cavity of the calf that we had built inside of its interior part, and then all of a sudden, through that, the calf started making the sound of a cow or of a calf. This story is mentioned by some of the commentators. Well, we can accept that, but there are some faults with this explanation. So when he said that I seeing something that the Israelites had not seen, he was referring to seeing the vehicle of angel Gabriel and the traces. And then when he says, I took a handful of the trace of the messenger, by messenger he is referring to angel Gabriel, and by the trace, athar, he is referring to the trace of the feet of the vehicle that angel Gabriel was using. And then when he says, I threw it, he was referring to him throwing that dust inside of the cavity of the calf that he had built for Israelites, in order to enable it to make a sound. I don't want to go through the faults of this explanation, but there is another beautiful, very powerful explanation. If you ask me, with my very limited, I don't want to even say knowledge, whatever it is very little and very limited, I could say this explanation is powerful and authentic. The explanation says, Samiri was a hypocrite. He had taken some of the messages and the traces of the messages of Prophet Moses. So when Quran in here says Rasul, messenger, the messenger is referred to Moses. And Athar al-Rasul is referred to whatever Prophet Moses had left behind of his teachings to Israelites up to that point. But Samiri had taken only a handful of it, a little bit of it, a portion of it, not all of it. He was waiting for Moses to go so that he would show that the other side of him that hadn't accepted the rest of the message of Prophet Moses. He had accepted certain. He had taken a handful of certain parts. فَقَبَضْتُ قَبْضَةً مِنْ أَثَرِ الرَّسُولِ I took a handful of the trace of the messenger. The trace of the messenger refers to the message of Prophet Moses up to that point, that he had taught Israelites all along about the unity of God, about the servitude of one God, and the rest of the instructions up to that point. Samiri had taken some of it, not the rest of it. And also, when he refers to, I saw something that they didn't see, him taking some and rejecting some wasn't because he hadn't seen the rest, that he didn't want to accept. He had seen all of it. He had seen the validity and the truth of all of it better than Israelites. But his ego, his self-interest, his prejudice, his personal interests and stubbornness made him not to take all of it. So when he says, I saw something that they didn't see, meaning I was equipped with all the teachings that you gave us, more than all of them. I had seen it all. But I had taken only some of it, and then I threw the rest of it. So when he says, فَنَبَذْتُهَا, I threw the rest of it, he's not referring to throwing some dust inside of the cavity of the calf in order to equip it with making a sound. He's referring to, I threw it out. See how powerful of explanation is this, and this exactly matches with that Samiri figure in Islam. Who is Samiri? I leave it to you. Who is Samiri of Islam? We know Aaron of Islam is Ali. We know Moses of Islam is Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. Who is Samiri of Islam? And who is Kaf of Islam? Ajla. Jasadan lahu khawar. A dead body. Kaf, that is jasad, is a dead body, is a statue. But for it, there is a sound. Is a ajl alright? Is a ajl as far as appearance is concerned? Is a calf. It looks like a calf, it sounds like a calf, but it's not a real calf. It's a jasada. It's a dead body. Who is the ajl of Islam? Who is the Samiri, the chief architect and instigator of this misleading scenario in Islam? This interpretation regarding verse 96 of the explanation of Samiri makes more sense than the other one, that he picked up some dust from the trace of the vehicle of Angel Gabriel, and then he threw it he threw the dust which was blessed probably by the